I want to put in a note here at the beginning of this first episode before we get started. We did actually record 3 other episodes prior to this one whose audio was lost when the hard drive of the computer that they were on absolutely just disintegrated. So when we bring up that there were prior episodes, that's what we're referencing, and those never got uploaded and don't exist anymore. This episode was also recorded before we got the name of the show, and during a period where my editing skills were, how you say, more terrible than they are now. So enjoy this weird little look back into how the show was right at its inception. You may even notice that the format is different. All I can say is welcome to the show, and hopefully we've improved a little bit since this time. Podcast here. This week, I am here with Zakim. My name is Chessie, and this is the Survive 25 podcast, where we are surviving 2025. We're going to have to come up with a new name for it next year.
I guess surviving past 2025, that might be more long-term.
Yes, next year we're going to call it Surviving Past 2025.
We can start today.
Yeah, this weird cyberpunk timeline that we found ourselves in.
The only cyberpunk is my bank account. Feels like it's getting hacked.
There is a sense that the bank accounts are just slowly suffering and dying. But hopefully, with this podcast, we may reverse that.
Yeah, maybe we'll burn something down, but we'll build something more later.
Yes, I love that idea. On Survive 25 this week, we are going to dive into one of the things that we are all aware is probably bad for us, but hangs in the back of our minds as an example of our government just ignoring something that is bad for everybody because it's too much trouble to properly deal with.
And this, I would say, mindset transfers to us as well.
It really does. And lots of people, when they're starting their wellness journey, they have a lot of blind spots where they're going to look at something and say, okay, well, I feel this way, but why do I feel this way? It can't be the thing that's making me feel better every day. In this instance, it absolutely is, because this week we are covering smoking. And this is kind of personal to me because I have lost a number of people to lung cancer. And we're in a period where I now live in a country where 2/3 of my 20-something friends smoke like chimneys, which is wild to me because every cigarette pack has like a baby seal with lung cancer on it. People know that smoking is bad for them, and yet it is what gets them through the day, and the government apparently seems to be unwilling to do anything about it, or at the very least, what they do about it is totally ineffective.
People know that it's pretty bad for them, but what's probably worse than something bad in the certain future is being with whatever feeling they hate right now, which is why some companies even make smoking rooms for their employees.
Smoking rooms?
Yeah.
Rooms?
It's more of a half outdoor, half balcony, but only for the employees. Lidl has a few, actually.
Wild. So, Landon, at one point, Landon is my partner, used to smoke. Briefly, because it was the only way in the United States that he could get a break from his job. They didn't give mandatory breaks unless you were a smoker. This is
some kind of bullshit.
That makes me feel some kind of way. This has been the way of it for a long time in the United States because they don't provide a lot of things that are sort of basics in other countries, like mandating that you get lunch. One of the things that the United States has really failed on is dealing with smoking, considering it purports to be the greatest country on earth, there are still way too many people who smoke. Now, the numbers are down a lot.
But that's probably because smoking is just a symptom of the underlying condition that a person feels terrible and cannot be with that feeling or solve it. And of course, there's cigarettes and all that, and there's plenty of other ways to not feel terrible for a moment.
And now we've got 19 different methods of getting the nicotine. And some of them are fully stuff that someone in a sci-fi novel came up with. We have Juul pods, which may as well just plug into the side of your head. And then we have IQOS, which is a thing that I've only encountered in Europe. Yeah. Could you describe IQOS for us?
It's a cross between a cigarette and a vape. It is a cigarette that isn't burned, but it's charred very slowly. So it doesn't burn, but it smolders, it smokes very slowly. So it's slightly less damaging according to the company itself.
According to IQOS.
Obviously. But it's more portable. Obviously, people can just you can turn it on and off, just like a vape pod, and you can just put it in your pocket. You can hide it. You can even try doing it where you're not supposed to.
I assume it doesn't have as much smell as just a standard cigarette.
Maybe slightly less, but most people say it still stinks as hell.
Well, you have a very sensitive nose.
Indeed I do, sadly.
I have been seeing a few different methods as well that people have just come up with to make smoking socially acceptable. The IQOS thing is one of them. Vapes are another. Obviously, in the 90s, we had nicotine gum. At this point, we no longer have nicotine gum in the sense of this is to make you stop smoking. Now we have nicotine gum where they advertise how much nicotine is in it. So you got extra nicotine. And they've got nicotine cream. You can get a nicotine hand cream. That's a thing that really exists. I don't know what you do with it. I'm assuming you absorb the nicotine straight through your hands. But at a point, you're just absorbing unknown cancerous stimulants that, there's no testing on 90% of this stuff before it's shoved out onto the market. So have you not heard of the nicotine hand cream thing?
Nicotine hand cream, no. I was aware of nicotine patches and how they are better because nothing's fucking burning. And I'm the last person to say this, but yes, nicotine may help delay dementia. That is the end of the endorsement.
The end of the endorsement for, yes. I'm sure we could find something else that will delay dementia.
Sudoku puzzles.
Sudoku puzzles?
Puzzles in general, actually.
Oh, I'm going to be fine then. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be 103 and my brain's going to be in shiny condition. Lots of wrinkles.
Good.
We're going to pop back in time here to the history of tobacco.
Wonderful.
Colonists showed up. There's a lot of propaganda from the tobacco companies about the noble native Indians using tobacco in their sacred rituals, and the white man came in and ruined it. And it's obvious. At the time, people were abusing tobacco just as they are now in even more creative ways.
Oh, do tell.
In that period, they had what they called the nose pipe, which is a little split fork thing with holes in it that goes in your nose. So you stuff the tobacco in one end of it, light it, and then inhale it directly into your sinuses. So you get that nice sharp rush of burning stuff, your sinuses, tobacco, and then vomiting.
Yeah, I would assume that the only reason kids aren't doing it nowadays is because you do it a few times and then you end up in a hospital or something.
This was the thing, is that people, even the early accounts of this were that this was the hardest way to smoke. This was the most difficult way to smoke, and yet people were still doing it, apparently. And then someone was like, okay, guys, do you really need the nicotine that quickly? And the ones who were really addicted were like, oh yeah, I'm loading up 2 nose pipes. I'm going to double fist these. But we sort of took things down a notch and moved on to pipes that were just sort of the standard pipe you know of, until we got to the 20th century, where we've got to sell cigarettes. We've got to industrialize the process of getting cancer as quickly as possible. And so, amongst others, Philip Morris and a long list of other horrifying companies,
Well, same deal at this point.
Yeah.
In terms of power.
Began focus grouping and inventing and developing a more efficient way to sell cigarettes to people, and specifically just to sell their addiction, so that people would get less tobacco and smoke it more often. And that's how we get modern cigarettes, or at least what we think of as modern cigarettes, because you can roll your own cigarettes for a third of the price of a pack, but it is not as quick or efficient as having something someone else rolled. And when we started to figure out the marketing on cigarettes, my God, we made them look cool.
They paid the fucking Hollywood industries. Hey, can you smoke on camera? I'll pay you.
Can you smoke constantly?
Can you look cool while doing it?
I mean, the Marlboro Man was amazing. He was great, because he was lighting one up every day. Irony of ironies, died of lung cancer.
Yep, I actually watched a semi-documentary based on real facts movie called Thank You for Smoking, and basically summarizes what you just said.
It is weird to me that we are living 50 years after we came to the full realization that tobacco companies had been lying their butts off, and we are still faced with the rancid scent of cigarettes everywhere we go in Europe. And the United States, which is a place the government doesn't care about you and would harvest your organs if they thought it wouldn't cause riots, and might do it anyway, I could kind of understand. In Europe, which has nationalized healthcare and all these different initiatives to get you off of cigarettes, you went to a hospital recently where there were people smoking outside.
Even though it's prohibited by law to do that.
So tell me about that.
Well, in Lithuania, hospitals are nationally declared a non-smoking territory, which you can get fined 30, 70 euros per time you're caught doing so.
I would love to see the actual paperwork on the last person to get fined for smoking, because I don't believe it's happened in the last 5 years.
Probably even decades. Because doctors are overworked basically everywhere, and it's not their job to track if anyone's smoking outside. Hell, they probably do it themselves.
They're probably out there with their patients just like, can I get a light?
Exactly. And some of those patients are there to quit smoking. So a bit of a...
Yeah, the hospital that you were at literally had programs specifically to quit smoking that were on their sort of menu of options, right?
Yeah, that was on the list of things they help treat.
That is wild.
As if the government itself thinks, hey, if people are too healthy, our tax money can't go to the hospitals to treat the issues that smoking causes. Which I don't think that's ever gonna happen, okay? Like, you literally, as the government, pay your money that you get from the citizens so they will stop smoking. And you fund that by increasing the taxes on the cigarettes. And the only thing you get in return is slightly higher productivity for a while.
I mean, never underestimate the ability of governments to come up with evil ways of extracting more money from their own populations.
It's just so short-sighted. Like when we introduced the goddamn coffee break, back in way then, if coffee was cancerous, we would probably still be drinking it today.
Probably, but the thing that occurs to me is what you said about short-sightedness. You may or may not be aware of the drug called Pervitin. Have you ever heard of Pervitin? Pervitin was a drug given to soldiers in World War II. It was straight meth. Just meth.
Yep, it was an emergency option.
It was an emergency option that would keep people marching and walking and fighting for days. And that mindset of achieve the objective at all costs may have won the war, but it is also the thing driving people to keep making money by keeping people smoking. Because the objective is to make money, and if it requires addicting an entire population and then making them get cancer, oh yeah, baby, give us the light.
The cancer is just like a small side effect. Like, I'll take it. It's just a cost to them.
It really seems to be. All right.
Again, the weirdest thing is because if you get cancer in Lithuania, you actually get a sort of a pension while you have cancer.
Yeah.
So I honestly do not think it actually pays off in the long term for them to actually, allow this bullshit to continue.
I think that the productivity that people get from having a light stimulant that you can addict people to alongside coffee, I'll bet you they've done studies on people being addicted to multiple stimulants and found out that leaving these stimulants as available and as addictive as they are, leaving them available for people to use, even if they kill them in the long run, is worth it at the bottom of some balance sheet.
Yeah, which is kind of how your government might care about your lack thereof.
That's horrifying.
I mean, yeah, would your government care about your health if you didn't, I don't know, riot or go to protests or, do anything about it?
Probably my government certainly wouldn't. Yours, meh.
Maybe a little bit.
People are obviously looking to get away from smoking still. If you're listening to this might be your blind spot. You might be looking at your life and saying to yourself, why is it so hard to exercise regularly? Why is it so hard to balance out my diet? Well, cigarettes are, they depress appetite, nicotine in particular, and obviously smoking is going to screw with your lungs and your pulmonary system and your heart and the whole 9 yards. So it's going to make it hard to go out and go for that walk.
You're going to feel tired by going home.
Yeah, particularly. This is going to be something people need some first steps on. What would you say a person has just stopped? They're listening to our podcast. They have stopped. They have looked down at the cigarette in their hand and they're saying, okay, it's time to be done with this. Where do they start?
Where they need to start is kind of where they did, but there's another very important step, and that is smoking isn't the problem, it is the symptom, a fake cure, you could say, treatment that you've taken upon yourself for a problem you're probably not aware of.
Okay, so it's a bit like doing chemo for cancer. If you have, this is going to be a bad example here, but it's like doing chemo for cancer. You could do chemo for a month or two, and it would be fine, 6 months. You don't want to be doing chemo for 60 years, because it's going to ruin your body. It may save you from a short-term issue, but in the long run, it's going to wreck you.
I would say it's similar mentally. Mentally, it is quite similar to smoking. It's similar to sleeping pills, antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds. They are symptomatic treatment.
So they treat the symptom, but they're meant to give you time to identify something that needs to change.
You're putting smoking in a really positive light here.
Sure. Sorry, I am doing that.
Yeah, but in essence, that is what people are kind of doing. They're just not looking at the long term, or they don't have enough vision for the long term. But in essence, yes, you need to realize that there's an issue which you are consciously, subconsciously trying to avoid. You might not even be aware of the issue, but the feeling, you're definitely aware of the feeling. You stop smoking for a little bit, you're like, something's not right, something's not right.
And you can blame that on the smoking, but it's probably going to be something else.
Yes, the smoking is a physical addiction, and you will feel the irritation, might even feel shaking. But let's say you would quit smoking. Of course, you need to quit smoking by replacing the activity of smoking with something else. You need to get some sort of pleasure from something else that isn't self-destructive.
Ooh, that's a hard one because you're training your brain with a lot of dopamine to enjoy this one thing.
And a lot of easy, quick access, which harms you in ways I do not have the time to explain.
Oh, we'll explain, given in time, but not on this episode.
Yeah, like you're just programming yourself to be short-sighted with your feelings and how you can deal with them.
Okay. So first things first, after you look at the cigarette and say, I need to quit this, the next thing is to diagnose.
Yeah, what is actually making you feel so bad you would rather risk cancer than actually be with whatever you're feeling or whatever issue you're in? Because nicotine dulls emotions very well. People are fucking furious at their jobs, at their family situation, their life, but they go for a smoke. It's like, it's not that bad. I'm good with this. And, you know, they can just keep smoking and smoking and smoking and ignoring the issue until there's another issue. It's cancer. And then you have two issues to deal with at the same time.
And at a point, the smoking just becomes the automatic response to any emotion.
Yeah, instead of dealing with issues. And that means smoking might have worked for you for a little while, but as issues actually pile up, your response to them is to smoke.
After diagnosing what issue it is that you are smoking to respond to, I'm assuming you have something other than just go to therapy, because that's going to end up being the answer to a lot of our podcast here.
It is a lot, but let's just say that therapy doesn't always mean going to a professional that you probably cannot afford. Even in a country that has free healthcare, the therapists are still limited. I'm just going to say the thing that is trending for good reason, it is journaling. When you feel awful, just try yelling your thoughts on a piece of paper. Just yell and read it afterwards. And you might actually find the reason why you cannot stand feeling the way you're feeling and you need that smoke.
So there's now also, and I love this, cell phone apps that specifically translate voice to text. Voice to text journaling apps are worth so much in this realm, and I can't recommend one right now, but if you literally just put voice to text journaling app into Google, you will find one. My own journaling has actually helped a lot, and you don't ever have to show it to anyone.
No, it's for you.
Yeah. Identifying what's actually going on in your own brain is just another step. You know, one of the secrets is that it's okay to replace smoking with nicotine. That's going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but there are 19 different other kinds of nicotine that will at least reduce the cancer risk a bit. Patches are fine.
Patches are less cancerous, and the fact that you get a steady drip of nicotine makes it a actually great option to quit smoking, because when you get a hit of nicotine that goes up and then down, you're left with cravings. And that's the essence of how to make an addiction. When you make it a nice, smooth baseline, you get rid of the habit of putting a cigarette in between your fingers, lighting it up, taking a puff. And when you get rid of that habit over what might be 2, 3, 4 months, you will be able to reduce the amount of nicotine in the patches and keep reducing it. It might take a year, but it's a slow and steady race that will get you to where you want to go.
And ultimately, the goal is not to quit smoking. The goal is to find the reason you were smoking and quit that.
Yes, because if you quit smoking and say, I will never smoke, but you don't address the reason of why you were smoking in the first place, you'll find something else.
You absolutely will.
Yeah, like I said, it's a symptom. It's just a symptom, and you're ignoring the reason why you're doing it.
All right. Well, Zakim, we've sort of come to the end of our time for today. Next week, we're probably going to address